You've been counting down the days. 62 years old, the magic number when you can finally claim Social Security and walk away from work forever. You've watched the calendar, circled the date, maybe even told your boss you'll be retiring. The idea of never setting another alarm clock, never sitting through another meeting, never dealing with workplace stress again, it sounds like freedom. It sounds like the reward you've earned after 4 decades of hard work. But what if I told you that retiring at 62, instead of waiting just a few more years, could cost you over $250,000 in your lifetime? What if I showed you the actual math? Not guesses, not estimates, but cold, hard numbers that prove how much money you're leaving on the table by retiring the moment you're eligible. What if those extra 3, 5, or 8 years of work could mean the difference between a comfortable retirement and struggling to make ends meet at 75? My name is Thomas, and I'm 70 years old. 8 years ago, I made the decision to retire at 62. I thought I was being smart. I thought I'd calculated everything correctly. I thought I deserved to enjoy my retirement while I was still healthy and active. And for the first year or two, it felt wonderful. No more commute, no more deadlines, no more office politics. I felt like I'd won. But now, at 70, I can see the full picture. I can see exactly what that decision cost me. And when I run the numbers, when I sit down with a calculator and actually add up what I gave up by retiring at 62 instead of 65, or better yet, instead of 70, the amount is staggering. It's money I'll never get back. Money that could have made my retirement comfortable instead of tight. Money that could have been a legacy for my children instead of an eternal regret. Today, I'm going to walk you through the math, not in a complicated, confusing way, but in simple, clear numbers that anyone can understand. We're going to look at Social Security, retirement account withdrawals, healthcare costs, and compound growth. We're going to compare what happens if you retire at 62 versus 65 versus 70. And by the end of this, you're going to see in black and white why retiring at 62 is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Let's start with Social Security, because this is where the biggest loss happens, and it's permanent. Once you make this decision, you can't undo it. You're locked in for life. So pay very close attention to these numbers. When you turn 62, you become eligible to claim Social Security early. But, and this is crucial, you don't get your full benefit. You get a reduced benefit. Your full retirement age, depending on when you were born, is somewhere between 66 and 67. If you were born in 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. If you claim at 62 instead of waiting until 67, your benefit is reduced by 30%. Not a little bit, 30%. Nearly a third of your benefit gone forever. Let me show you what that looks like in real dollars. Let's say your full retirement benefit at age 67 is $2,000 per month. That's $24,000 per year. If you claim at 62, you get 70% of that amount. That's $1,400 per month, or $16,800 per year. You just gave up $7,200 per year, every single year, for the rest of your life. Now let's say you live to age 85. That's 23 years of receiving that reduced benefit. Over those 23 years, you've lost $165,600 compared to what you would have received if you'd waited until 67. That's $165,600 that you'll never see, ever. But wait, it gets worse, because Social Security benefits increase every year with cost of living adjustments, and those increases are based on a percentage of your benefit amount. If your benefit is 30% smaller, your cost of living increases are also 30% smaller, so that gap doesn't stay at $7,200 per year, it actually grows over time. Let's factor in a conservative 2.5% annual cost of living adjustment. By year 10, that $7,200 gap has grown to about $9,200. By year 20, it's over $11,800. When you calculate the compounding effect of those smaller annual increases over 23 years, the total loss isn't $165,600, it's closer to $195,000. But here's where it gets really interesting. What if instead of claiming at 62 or even at 67, you wait until 70? because for every year you delay claiming Social Security past your full retirement age, up to age 70, your benefit increases by 8% per year. That's an 8% guaranteed increase. You can't get that kind of return anywhere else with zero risk. So, if your full retirement benefit at 67 is $2,000 per month and you wait until 70, you get 124% of that amount. That's $2,480 per month, or $29,760 per year. Compare that to the $16,800 you'd get by claiming at 62. The difference is $12,960 per year. Over 23 years, from age 70 to 93, that's an additional $298,080. Add in the compounding effect of larger cost of living adjustments on that bigger a base amount, and you're looking at well over $350,000 in additional lifetime income by waiting until 70 instead of claiming at 62. $350,000. That's not a typo. That's the real cost of retiring at 62 instead of 70, and that's just Social Security. We haven't even talked about retirement accounts yet. Now let's talk about what happens to your 401k or IRA when you retire at 62 versus waiting. This is where the math gets even more painful, because it's not just about how much you withdraw, it's about what you're missing out on in terms of compound growth. Let's say you have $500,000 in your 401k at 62. If you retire at 62 and start withdrawing $25,000 per year to supplement your reduced Social Security, here's what happens. That $25,000 withdrawal, plus another 6 to 7% of your balance each year to cover your living expenses, means you're pulling out roughly $30,000 to $35,000 annually in the early years. But if you keep working until 65, here's what changes. First, you're not withdrawing anything. That $500,000 stays invested. Even at a conservative 6% annual return, that account grows to about $595,000 in 3 years. You just added $95,000 to your nest egg simply by not touching it. But it's even better than that, because you're probably still contributing to your 401k while you work. Let's say you contribute $10,000 per year for those 3 years, and your employer matches half of that, another $5,000. That's $15,000 per year, or $45,000 total over 3 years. Add in the growth on those contributions, and your 401k is now worth around $650,000 instead of $500,000. Now, let's say you work until 70 instead of 62. 8 more years. That $500,000, growing at 6% annually and with continued contributions of $15,000 per year, grows to approximately $900,000. You've nearly doubled your retirement savings just by waiting 8 years. And here's the critical part. When you start withdrawing from that larger balance, you can withdraw more per year while still making it last longer. A $900,000 portfolio can safely provide about $36,000 to $25,000 per year for 25 to 30 years. A $500,000 portfolio that's been depleted by 8 years of early withdrawals, by the time you're 70, it might be down to $300,000 or less, which can only safely provide about $12,000 to $15,000 per year. The difference in retirement income from your investment accounts alone, just by waiting until 70 instead of retiring at 62, is about $20,000 per year. Over a 20-year retirement, that's $400,000. Combined with the Social Security difference we calculated earlier, you're now looking at a $750,000 mistake. Now let's talk about healthcare, because this is where retiring at 62 absolutely crushes people financially, and most people don't see it coming until it's too late. If you retire at 62, you're not eligible for Medicare until 65. That's 3 years where you have to buy private health insurance, and it is shockingly expensive. For a couple in their early 60s, private health insurance premiums can easily run $1,500 to $2,000 per month. That's $18,000 to $24,000 per year just in premiums. But premiums are just the beginning. Most marketplace plans have high deductibles, $5,000 to $8,000 per person. So if you or your spouse has any health issues during those 3 years, you're paying thousands more out of pocket before insurance even kicks in. Let's be conservative and say you spend $20,000 per year on healthcare for 3 years before Medicare starts. That's $60,000. If you'd worked until 65, your employer would have covered most of that cost. Even if you were paying $400 per month for employer-sponsored insurance, that's only $14,400 over 3 years. You just saved $45,600 by working until 65. But wait, there's more. When you turn 65 and enroll in Medicare, your premiums are based partly on your income from 2 years prior. If you retired at 62 and took large distributions from your retirement accounts to cover your expenses, that income could push you into a higher Medicare premium bracket. High earners pay income-related monthly adjustment amounts, or IRMA, which can add $200 to $400 or more per month to your Medicare costs. That's another $2,400 to $4,800 per year. If you'd worked until 65, you would have been drawing a salary, yes, but you wouldn't have been taking those large retirement account distributions, so your Medicare premiums would have been lower once you enrolled. Here's another piece of the puzzle that most people don't consider: the impact of inflation on a longer retirement. If you retire at 62, you're potentially looking at a 30-year retirement or longer. If you retire at 70, you're looking at a 20 to 22-year retirement. That 8-year difference matters enormously when it comes to inflation. Let's say you need $50,000 per year to live comfortably in today's dollars. With 3% annual inflation, in 10 years you'll need $67,195 to maintain the same standard of living. In 20 years, you'll need $90,305. In 30 years, you'll need $121,360. If you retire at 62, your fixed income, primarily Social Security and retirement account withdrawals, has to stretch across 30 years of inflation. By the time you're 85 or 90, you're trying to live on income that was set decades ago, and it's buying you far less than it did when you retired. But if you retire at 70, you've done two critical things. First, you've maximized your Social Security benefit, which includes annual cost of living adjustments so it grows with inflation. Second, you've shortened your retirement by 8 years, which means inflation has less time to erode your purchasing power. Think about it this way. If you retire at 62 with $50,000 per year in income and live to 92, you're dealing with 30 years of inflation. If you retire at 70 with $70,000 per year in income and live to 92, you're only dealing with 22 years of inflation, and you're starting from a much higher income base. The difference in financial security at age 85 or 90 is absolutely massive. Let me show you what this looks like in a real-world comparison. Let's create two scenarios with the same person and see how the numbers play out. Scenario 1. You retire at 62. You claim Social Security immediately and receive $1,400 per month or $16,800 per year. You start withdrawing $30,000 per year from your $500,000 in retirement savings. Your total annual income is $46,800. You pay $20,000 per year for health insurance until you're 65. By age 70, your retirement accounts are down to about $320,000 because of withdrawals and modest growth. Your Social Security has increased with cost of living adjustments to about $19,000 per year. Your total annual income at 70 is about $38,000, $19,000 Social Security plus about $19,000 from retirement accounts. By age 80, your retirement accounts are nearly depleted. You're living almost entirely on Social Security, which is now about $24,000 per year. You're struggling. Scenario 2. You work until 70. You don't claim Social Security or touch your retirement accounts. Your $500,000 in retirement savings grows to approximately $900,000 with continued contributions and compound growth. You enroll in Medicare at 65 while still working, so you're covered by employer insurance until then. At 70, you claim Social Security and receive $2,480 per month or $29,760 per year. You start withdrawing $36,000 per year from your $900,000 in retirement savings. Your total annual income is $65,760. At age 80, your retirement accounts still have about $700,000 because your withdrawals have been sustainable. Your Social Security has increased to about $38,000 per year. Your total annual income at 80 is about $68,000. You're comfortable. You have options. You have security. The difference between these two scenarios at age 80 is $44,000 per year in income. That's the difference between scraping by and living well. That's the difference between worrying about every expense and being able to help your grandchildren, travel occasionally, and maintain your home. And here's something most people don't think about. What happens if you live into your 90s? With scenario 1, retiring at 62, you're likely to run out of money in your mid-80s. You become dependent on Social Security alone, which might be $26,000 to $28,000 per year by that point. You might have to sell your home. You might have to move in with family. You lose your independence. With scenario 2, retiring at 70, you still have substantial retirement savings in your mid-80s. Your Social Security is much higher. You maintain your independence and your dignity. You might even have money left to leave to your children or grandchildren. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but what if I don't live that long? What if I work until 70 and die at 72? Then I've wasted all those extra years working. It's a fair question, and it's one that deserves an honest answer. The break-even point, the age at which you come ahead by delaying Social Security, is typically around age 78 to 80. If you retire at 62 and claim immediately, and you die before 78, you'll have received more total Social Security dollars than if you had waited. But if you live past 80, which most people do, you come out way ahead by waiting. Here's the reality. A 65-year-old man today has a 50% chance of living at least 84. A 65-year-old woman has a 50% chance of living at least 86. And for a married couple, both age 65, there's a 50% chance that at least one of them will live to 92. Those are the averages. Many people live well into their 90s now.
So yes, if you're in poor health and you have good reason to believe you won't live past 75, then retiring early might make sense. But for most people, the odds strongly favor living long enough that delaying retirement is the financially superior choice. And here's another way to think about it. Social Security isn't just about maximizing your total lifetime benefit. It's insurance against outliving your money. The longer you live, the more valuable that higher monthly benefit becomes. If you live to 95, that extra $1,000 per month you gained by waiting is worth its weight in gold because it's guaranteed income that you can't outlive. Let me share one more critical piece of math that most people don't consider. Taxes. When you retire at 62 and start drawing from your retirement accounts and claiming Social Security, you're triggering taxes earlier and potentially at higher rates. If you retire at 62 and need to withdraw $30,000 per year from your traditional 401k or IRA, that $30,000 is taxable income. Combined with your Social Security, a portion of which is also taxable, you could easily be paying $4,000 to $6,000 per year in federal income taxes, plus state taxes in many states. But if you work until 65 or 70, you're earning a salary during those years, yes, and paying taxes on it, but you're also letting your retirement accounts continue to grow tax-deferred. And when you do start taking distributions, you can be more strategic about it. You can withdraw less per year, keeping yourself in a lower tax bracket. You can do Roth conversions in low-income years. You have more control and more options. Over a 25-year retirement, the difference in taxes paid between someone who retired at 62 and someone who retired at 70 can easily be $30,000 to $50,000. That's real money that stays in your pocket instead of going to the government. Here's the bottom line, and I want you to really hear this. Every single year you work past 62 is worth approximately $25,000 to $35,000 in lifetime financial benefit when you factor in higher Social Security, continued retirement account growth, avoided healthcare costs, reduced taxes, and the shortened retirement period over which inflation can erode your purchasing power.
3 years, from 62 to 65, is worth approximately $75,000 to $105,000 in lifetime benefit. 8 years, from 62 to 70, is worth approximately $200,000 to $280,000 in lifetime benefit. And when you include the compound growth effects and the higher income base those extra years provide, the real number is closer to $350,000 to $400,000. That's not an exaggeration. That's not a best-case scenario. That's the math. Cold, hard, undeniable math. Now, does this mean you should work until you drop? Does it mean you should never retire? Of course not. If you're in poor health, if your job is destroying your mental or physical well-being, if you have family obligations that require you to stop working, then by all means, retire when you need to. Your health and happiness matter more than money. But if you're retiring at 62 simply because you can, because you're tired, because you're ready to be done, I'm begging you to reconsider. 3 more years, 5 more years, even just until 65 so you can get on Medicare and maximize your Social Security a bit more. Those years are worth a fortune. And if you don't love your current job, consider finding something different. Part-time work, consulting, a less stressful position, something that brings in income and keeps you active without burning you out. You don't have to love it, you just have to do it long enough to secure your financial future. I retired at 62 because I was tired, because I wanted freedom, because I thought I deserved it, and I did deserve it. But I also deserved financial security, and by retiring at 62 instead of 65 or 67, I gave up over $150,000 in lifetime income. That's a conservative estimate. The real number is probably higher. I'm 70 now. I can't go back and change that decision, but you can make a different one. You can look at these numbers, run them for your own situation, and make the choice that protects your future instead of jeopardizing it. Retiring at 62 isn't freedom, it's a trap. It's trading 8 years of work for 20 or 30 years of financial stress. It's choosing short-term relief over long-term security. And the math proves it, beyond any doubt. So please, please look at your numbers. Talk to a financial advisor, run the scenarios, and unless you have a compelling reason to retire at 62, wait. Wait until 65 at minimum. Wait until 67 if you can. Wait until 70 if you're able. Your 80-year-old self will thank you. Your 90-year-old self will thank you. And your children and grandchildren who won't have to worry about you taking care of them financially will thank you too. Retiring at 62 is a massive mistake. The math doesn't lie. And now you know the truth.